Hello, I'm Robin Jacobson of the Trinity United Church in Vernon, British Columbia, speaking to you from this very empty sanctuary. Oh my goodness, how we miss you. This is our first congregational update of the new year of 2021. It's been a year since the first COVID-19 virus was identified in Canada. And it's been over 10 months since we have last been able to meet for regular in-person worship on Sundays. It's been difficult for everybody involved. What a year of adjustment this has been for all of us, made especially difficult by so many unknowns. There's so much that has been changing even under our feet. Without a clear roadmap of how best to respond as a faith community during a pandemic, we at Trinity have done our very best, both to be faithful in our following of provincial health guidelines, as well as remaining true to our first calling, which is to be a Christ-centered faith community seeking God's shalom for all of the world. That hasn't changed. In November last year, we sent out letters asking for your feedback, asking, what do you believe we as the leadership of Trinity here are doing well? As well as, what do you think we should improve upon? I was personally gratified to see that there's very real appreciation of our decision carefully to continue following the provincial COVID-19 guidelines. Also, that when we did experiment with reopening in October last year, there was such high congregational compliance with the safety protocols that we had put in place. Everybody was masked and kept distances, tried to keep as safe as possible. There's lots of support for continuing our online worship services. People have affirmed the online services for their consistency, that they are regularly there each week, each Sunday they are there, as well as for their being of good technical quality. The online services have been variously described as being inspirational, Christ-centered, comforting, uplifting, reassuring, as well as being theologically progressive. Also that they are short. There is an appreciation of the regular participation from a wide range of people in the community. People participating as readers or sharing their testimonies, our singers. It is also good to see familiar faces and our familiar settings, the backgrounds, the beloved sanctuary, the chapel, the gardens, these places that are so missing you. People are wanting to be and to feel as if they are worshiping participants of online worship services, as opposed to being merely spectators. Folks have loved the singing. There's lots of appreciation for our musical leadership, the volunteer singers and Karen's leadership and David, Diana. A number of people have described how the December lighting of Advent candles at home each Sunday as we move through Advent, lighting them together with others who we know are also in their homes lighting candles. That was particularly meaningful. At least one person confessed how they appreciated being able to join online worship just whenever they wanted to, and not just at the time set for 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. They loved the freedom and the intimacy of worshiping just whenever they wanted to. I suspect that they were speaking for many people in this regard, and also they didn't say so, but I suspect that they enjoyed coming to church in their pajamas while sipping their coffee and being able to mute, pause, or fast forward their minister at will. 2 people have indicated that they regularly invite friends to join them. I know of one family who actually sets up a Zoom call, sharing their screen with other out-of-town family and friends. There's also the hope for more online small group gatherings where people can get the opportunity to engage and to interact with one another. Looking ahead, it is hoped that when we are allowed once again to gather in person, that we continue to offer these opportunities for online worship, that we don't stop that. It's also hoped that as things begin to warm up, we may be able to be more creative with the sharing of Holy Communion, as well as with the possibility of some limited outdoor gatherings, perhaps in our beautiful gardens or in the area around. Also appreciated are the invitations to support outreach projects such as the Vernon Pregnancy Outreach Program, Teen Junction, our ongoing care for our refugee family, our care for the homeless, the very excellent Good Food Box program, our pantry and Canadian Food Grains Bank partnerships, Alexis Park School and Fulton School partnerships, Operation Eyesight. All of these just so important, and there's room for participation in all sorts of other projects that people may feel that they want to champion as well. We clearly have enormous capacity to love and to care for others, both within and surrounding our church community. The phone call ministry coordinated by Alma Jean is largely well received, with most people welcoming regular calls, people reaching out to them on a regular basis. Marie's e-posts each Monday morning primarily to the UCW, but I understand not exclusively so, are also very much appreciated. If you'd like to be on Marie's email list, let the office know and we'll pass that information along. As Kevin's careful maintenance of our large property and grounds, much appreciated. Gillian's cheerful presence is a stabilizing presence in the office. In fact, it was mentioned that having the church office open all throughout this time of COVID has been really helpful, especially having ministry staff available for a chat or by email, or phone, or sometimes in person. Other appreciations have included having Tony available safely to cut hair by appointment each Thursday in the church hall. I know that I really appreciate that. As well as having our composting bin available in office hours. Effective communication with all the demographics of our congregation remains a challenge. While there is lots of appreciation for our regular Friday e-newsletter, which is so faithfully prepared and distributed by Cheryl Green, we'd love to build on that. Shirley Grabinski wrote that a lot changes in 1 year. People get sick, some move, some die, some become grandparents, and we miss out on all of that by not being in church. Is it possible that we could have a section in the weekly e-newsletter? Or she says, possibly even a completely different newsletter that comes out once a month, where people can feed in the sorts of things that they would like other people to know. News of celebrations like milestone birthdays and new grandchildren. News of sad times when we need the prayers of our friends. We would love for you to send your news to Gillian in the church office via email, by phone, or by letter, for her to pass on to Cheryl Green to include in our e-news. We would love to hear from you. There may also be room for more use of snail mail as opposed to email, especially with our seniors and those who indicate that they're not too comfortable with this whole online world. Perhaps a monthly posting of Friday's highlights could go out to those who would otherwise have just missed those news items altogether. One person wrote of their concern regarding our need as the church to be watching the dollars, our need to watch our income and our expenses during this weird time of not meeting. David Green, our treasurer, is going to speak to that as he shares an update from the Treasury.
Hello, my name is David Green and I'm your treasurer here at Trinity United Church. I've had the pleasure of being on the board of Trinity for almost 5 years, and I've had the opportunity to speak with many of you in the congregation over the years via fireside chats, one-on-one conversations, and during our annual congregation meetings. Hopefully, most of you have heard me speak of Trinity's financial situation before. Very simple. Trinity has a structural financial issue. We don't take in enough in donations to cover the cost of running our current programs and maintaining our building. At the same time, we have an overabundance of funding available for children, youth, and family initiatives. Through our Hurlburt Fund from the sale of Camp Hurlburt, through community funds that were raised for the same purpose, and through some directed donations. So on paper, our finances look fine because the returns on our investments with the Camp Hurlburt funds mask our operating revenue shortfalls. This isn't sustainable. It was our goal as a board and as a congregation that we would develop new programs and new initiatives concurrent with Robin's arrival. We knew in order to do this, we would need to temporarily operate at a deficit. As you know, we embarked on 2 initiatives last year. First, we hired a full-time equivalent youth and family ministry team in order to start building out programs for children, youth, and families, both in our church as well as in our community. And second, we hired a facilities manager to allow us to properly keep up the building. Our expectation was that over time, our congregation would increase and, quite frankly, that each of us would donate more as we saw the results of these initiatives. As you know, COVID-19 has changed many circumstances. As a church, we are devoting more resources than ever before towards our worship services and towards keeping connected with our congregation. At the same time, the building hasn't gone away, and we continue to maintain the facility even as we put on hold any large capital expenditures. But we don't know what the future holds. When will we be allowed to conduct in-person worship again? At what capacity? How will we, in effect, reestablish our children, youth, and family initiatives? And what other programs should we undertake? As Robin has said on several occasions during this pandemic, we can't expect that we will simply go back to normal. We have to anticipate and prepare for a very different congregational and community experience. So we have an operating shortfall, and this isn't going to change materially over the next 24 months. We are faced with 2 options. Cut back on our operating expenses, but where? Our operating expenses are dominated by 2 areas, staffing expenses and building upkeep costs. Any attempts to reduce staff costs or reduce building maintenance costs will result in sustainability issues for this congregation in very short order. Our second option, utilize more of the proceeds of the Camp Hurlburt Fund to cover our existing operating costs. As the treasurer and speaking on behalf of the board, I am recommending that we embark on a 24-month plan to determine what and how Trinity will operate in the future. And I recommend that we fund our operating shortfalls for the next 2 years with the earnings income earned to date from the Camp Hurlburt Fund. I am speaking with you today so that we can begin the dialogue and start addressing concerns that you may have well in advance of our annual meeting. We are not proposing that we would spend any of the principal, the initial funds, from the Hurlburt Fund, only the earned income accumulated. The earned income after children, youth, and family spending so far is in excess of $400,000. So it is our expectation that only a portion of this amount will be used to balance our operating expenses over the next 24 months. In 24 months' time, the board, via work with the ministry team and the congregation, will put forward concrete plans for how Trinity will be able to thrive in a post-COVID world on a financially sustainable basis. I will be hosting a couple of virtual fireside chats over the coming weeks to give folks the opportunity to discuss further. A proposed budget for 2021 will be coming shortly, and I will post on our website. Our 2020 accountant prepared statements will be ready around the end of March, and these will be available on our website as well. Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks, David. We are so grateful for your careful and creative oversight of our finances, as well as how you do it as an expression of your obvious and deep faith. And thank you, Trinity, for your faithfulness in continuing to support all aspects of our work and ministry with your worshipful tithes and offerings. And now in closing, a word and a prayer of blessing from our wonderful board chair, Carol Kopp.
Thank you, Trinity. Thank you for your cooperation, devotion, and willingness to engage in an entirely new form of church. I have been a member of this congregation for a number of years, and I'm always amazed at how adaptable you as members are. This has made the job of the board and the ministry team much easier in this time of unprecedented change. We have, as a congregation, had to leave behind so many of our cherished activities and social connections. Just the act of offering a hug to someone in need has become a distant memory as we huddle in our homes far from each other. But in true Trinity fashion, we have found ways around most of it, and I am proud of us all. You have listened to Robin and David give us a picture of where we are at as a congregation. They offer us hope and direction as we move forward in the days to come. Let us all hold on to our faith and believe all is possible with God. I offer this hymn as a prayer to you all. Holy One, in you there is a refuge, in you we find our peace. When all we know is chaos, may our trust in you increase. In you there is a silence, in you our minds are clear. When all we hear is discord, may your quiet draw us near. In you there is a vision, in you we learn to dream. When all we see is desert, may you be our living stream. In you there is a future, in you we find our way. When hope has shed its brightness, may you show us a new day. Stay safe, everyone. Blessings to you all.